All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Lear 13. So we are about to get underway here for Stint 2 out of 3 here at Bathurst. We're looking at 20 drivers in this stint. I'm not racing, obviously. I'm just broadcasting, but real quickly, let's look at some of the drivers who will be running. NDL CJ, also known as Circle Jerk, is going to be back in the number 79 entry for the NDL team, the Acura entry. Matt Klim, hopefully will actually be able to load onto the circuit this time, will be in the number 290 HYR Acura. Rough driving will be in the 415 Porsche. ZR Amaryllis is going to be running in the 744 McLaren. Then you have NWR Shadow in the Chevy, VER Dwarf in the number 95 Chevy, TNR Reflex in the 331 Chevy, Legend 54611 in the 22 Chevy, NWR Bradders in the 802 Chevy, and P1R Turk is not going to be racing. He is just here to set up the event, so he will be backing out shortly after loading onto the circuit. Then you'll have the driver who won last stint, will start this stint from the pole, P1R Moonrise in the 101 Dodge, followed by the number 64 Dodge Viper of Delieve. After that will be ZR Crislid, who is also going back to back stints in the Audi. VER Dr. Ice is making his debut here in the P1R SEC series in the other VER Audi. Then you have NDL Drewski, who will be in the number 51 BMW M8. HYR Freitas will be in the Bentley number 31. P1R Habit will be in the number 8 Ford Mustang GT3. ESV Green will be trying to go one better than where he was in the prior stint. He will be in the number 38 Mustang today. Then you'll have NWR Birdley in the number 45 Mercedes. Any position that's not last would be an improvement for this entry. Then NDL Ardno will be in the Aston Martin Vantage. NDL Togue will be in the number 28 Vantage, trying to further extend this team's lead overall in the event. And then NDL Dindu is going back-to-back in the lone Ferrari entry for the day. So we should be loading onto the circuit relatively shortly here. We are not anticipating any inclement weather in this stint. The big change is going to be that while this is starting at 3 a.m. in-game time, this will be over by about 11 a.m. in-game time. So you will see the track become day covered near about the halfway point of this race, if not a little bit earlier than that. So keep that in mind. There will be a significant change in the track conditions. Circuit will get hotter, so that will let the tires heat up a little faster, but you also will likely see them burn through their tires a little faster. Other than that, though, this should be a relatively straightforward event. For ESV Green, that would be great. One of the big things that really derailed ESV Green's run was having to make an entire extra pit stop due to rain. Now, with that not being in the cards, Green is going to have to get around Moonrise, but if he can do so, considering that Moonrise is in a car that's not good at fighting mano-a-mano, Green should be able to go into the lead and just stretch out his legs very early on here. We're going to go ahead and try and knock out an ad break to get ahead of that. We'll be back shortly here at Bathurst. Hopefully, once we come back, they'll start ordering the grid for the race. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mount Panorama Bathurst as we are preparing to get underway here for Stint 2. Hopefully there won't be any significant issues and we're only going to end up being a small amount behind schedule. We do apologize for the issues that happened earlier that completely derailed our entire run. We are hoping that that will not happen again here today. So a reminder, the starting grid for Stint 2 is just the finishing results of Stint 1. The starting grid for Stint 3 will be the overall combined distance of everyone between Stint 1 and 2. So do keep that in mind today. All right, here we are. We should be loading onto the circuit proper now. All right, now for Stint 2 here at Mount Panorama. Reminder, P1R Turk is not actually going to be running in this stint. So we'll see him pull off very shortly in the event. But F1R Moonrise will be on pole, followed by ESV Green, NDL Togue, then NDL CJ, Circle Jerk. Then will be NDL Dindu. After that will be Legend 54611. Then ZR Chrysalid, NDL Drewski, NWR Shadow, NDL Ardno, and ZR Amaryllis. Then HYR Freitas, Delieve. After that will be Dr. Ice and NWR Bradders. After that will be Dwarf and Rough Driving, followed by RX, Birchie, Habit, and Matt Flynn. We'll finally actually get to start one of these as they go under the bridge, and we will be underway here at Bathurst. And we're off. Right away, it looks like our top three are opening a small gap on the rest of the field here. As P1R Turk finally pulls off circuit farther back. Already, it's getting a little bit angsty here. Here at the back of the top five, this is Dindu being pressured by Legend 54611. Reminder, that was the Chevrolet that was involved in that lap 2, turn 3 accident in Stint 1. Starting a little bit farther down the grid, so it has to start being a lot more aggressive, but we know that thing has speed. If they can minimize accidents, they could be in a really good position going forward here. Rushing downhill. And for the moment, no changes in the top 7 for positions. Looks like everyone's relatively in line right now. Nothing really crazy up in things early on here. And for the moment, FR&R Moonrise trying to keep ESV Green behind. Moonrise inside, Green outside. And he puts the power down. That slides just barely in front of Green. So Moonrise will lead at the line. Picking up where he left off at the end of Stint 1 is the same top 2 that we had at the end of the prior stint. All right, now we go down the straightaway. Moonrise has the inside, Green has the outside, but the thing is that the Dodge just has no top end. And the Mustang will complete this overtake well before they get to the braking zone. And we'll likely see ESV Green walk away from the rest of the field with that in mind. Now granted, Moonrise has been really good at tire life management. If they can stay with Green throughout the entirety of the day and keep pressure on Green, they might still be able to clip them on tire strap. But the only reason it worked in the last stint was because Green's entire strategy was derailed due to the rain. A lot of people didn't think the rain was going to come. It did come, because it was only at a 40% chance, but the rain did come and really derailed Green's strategy and put him behind the 8-ball. And that is what gave Moonrise the lead in the final few minutes of the event. This duo is also already pulling away from Indiel Togue, your third place starter. Downhill and around the bend. And you can see right here just how much Green is able to pull on Moonrise. Moonrise is just barely close enough to keep some sort of draft, some semblance of draft. And we know he'll close back in a straight. Okay, a little bit farther back, this is between Indiel, CJ, and Dindu. And it looks like Dindu has it. He goes the long way around CJ. Both these drivers fighting for second in the championship, but they should be trying to figure out a way to catch Indiel Togue ahead if they want to give themselves any sort of championship contention back. Seven different manufacturers in the top 7 positions. You have to, well, actually 8 in the top 8. I'm sorry, 8 different manufacturers in the top 8 positions. You have to go here to 9th, Bradders, for the first repeat manufacturer here. Moonrise staying right behind Green for now, not letting Green get away. Then it's Toad, Dindu, CJ, Legend, and then ZR Chrysalis. Oh, big twitch. There's a little bit of contact, and Green's into the wall, and he's passed by 1, 2, maybe even 3 cars. No, just 2 cars. But a bit of contact. Moonrise was a little aggressive in one of the slower corners, made contact with Green, and Green slid into the outside wall. And now he's ended up right ahead of Indiel Dindu, another driver he fought with in the last stint, And Moonrise goes to the front, with Togue now cycling up into second. So Green immediately now under pressure again, early on here at Bathurst in Stint 2. Oh, and that's Dindu who's hit the wall there. Dindu now falls behind CJ and ends up backed up right in front of Legend 54. They start accelerating downhill once more. Green's already pulling back up alongside NDL Togue. Togue doesn't really have to worry too much. If Togue can just hang on to a top 3 run, should be in a really good position here. Again, Togue is fighting for championship. Green, that team has missed too many stints in races, had disconnects earlier in the season as well at Silverstone. They're just not in championship contention. It is the 3 NDL teams that are there. Green has already made his way back into second and is now going to try and close back down on Moonrise. But our top 3 are right back where they started now in order. They have been in a zone of their own, it seems. No one else has pace compared to what these 3 are able to do today. Legend gets by NDL CJ farther back there. It's still a dead heat though. And CJ might be able to go deep enough under braking. And yes, he'll go deep enough under braking. There's still a little bit of contact from Chrysalid behind. But it does look like Legend's going to hold station over CJ. Still trying to go side by side in the mountain section is not recommended. Chrysalid doesn't care though. And Legend is showing, CJ is showing a little bit of weakness, and Chrysalid is really turning the pressure up. Riding on board with Chrysalid in the Audi, who runs in 7th. Oh, Legend's in the wall higher up. Ends up backing himself into CJ, and then CJ briefly ends up ahead of Chrysalid there. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Green has just about caught Moonrise. Under heavy braking now. Both drivers sliding just a bit. Power down as they take off down into the final corner. Moonrise defends inside. Green's going to try and cross over on exit. Can't put the power down smooth enough. Gets a little bit sideways over the curb. But he's going to still be right behind the Dodge. So this is going to be another really simple overtake on the uphill. Just because the Dodge will not have any straight line speed to keep the Mustang behind. Already Green going to go around the outside. He made this move about 2 laps ago. We'll make it again now. No issue overtake. We'll clear the Dodge before they even get to the braking zone, per usual. So as Moonrise put the bumper to Green again. Oh, Green slaps the outside wall. Moonrise looking to the outside, but is not going to dive deep on the outside there. Doesn't want to get squeezed into the wall by the Mustang. Alright, these are the corners where they made contact last time. Moonrise is so much faster than anyone else in the mountain section, but so much slower in the straights. Just about nose to tail for now. And now downhill they run. And I think this is... Oh! Green slaps the outside wall just a little bit. He's going to keep Moonrise right there. Onto the chase once again. Moonrise licks the outside wall there. I think he'll be close enough to keep a draft with Green. And by doing so, they'll pull away from NDL Togue farther back. Already a significant split in the field. The top 7 all in their own zone all over again. We saw that in Stint 1. It seems to be happening again in Stint 2. I can't be too surprised. I'm moderately surprised, but I shouldn't be, honestly. Out of the chicane, and now down to the final corner. Look at that. Moonrise looked to the inside, not willing to commit. you might be able to break deep into the corners. The thing is, though, if you try breaking deep and you just force the Mustang onto the outside, the Mustang basically you're giving him more track for him to find grip and traction at, and you'll just extend his advantage over you down the straights. Right now, Moonrise's best hope is to stay in Green's draft and get Green to make some sort of mistake in the mountain section, lose so much time that he just doesn't have the ability to close it back down. Togue has completely lost touch with this duo for now, though. So real quickly, let's look at the fuel and tire wear of our drivers. 46% here for Green. For Moonrise, it is 44%. For Togue, 45. And he's relatively well worn in all corners. For Dindu in fourth, 47. For the Legend in the Vet, 46. For CJ in the 6th place position in the Acura, 47. And for Chrysalid, 47. NWR Bradders runs in 8th right now, 48. Indy Eldrewski in 9th. Big slide by the Beamer, 48%. 10th place is Ardno, 47. Is anyone on medium tires? Now we get to Dr. Ice, 49. Freitas in 12th. This is the first driver who is on medium tires right now. Everyone ahead of them is on soft, so the top 11 all on soft tires right now. And our leaders all stay out for another lap here, it seems. Green starting to eke out a bit of a gap on Moonrise. There's a little wide in turn 1 there that will let Moonrise close right back in, get the draft off that Mustang, as our top 2 are just gapping the rest of the field right now. Matt Clem has gotten by rough driving at the back of the grid here. All right, no one has made a stop, so we're going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here, and when we come back, we should catch our leaders in the majority of the field making their first stop of the day. We'll be back shortly here. Oh, that's unexpected. Oh, the axe swings in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bathurst. Your eyes do not deceive you. While we were away, ESV Green had a mistake just coming onto the back straightaway, bled off a huge chunk of speed, and put Moonrise back in front of the Mustang. And pit stops are underway. Dindu, Legend, Dr. Ice, Dwarf, Habit, Birchie, and Rough Driving all making their first stops of the day now. But our leaders staying out for a little bit longer. It seems to be a mano-y-mano fight. Moonrise making fewer mistakes, but can't really fight against Green. Green able to overtake anywhere he wants on track. Well, that's not really true, but he's able to overtake any lap he chooses. But he seems to be significantly more mistake prone, and no one is on the level with these two drivers right now. Also remember, H.R. Freitas back here, who was the first driver on track, who was not on the soft tires. Well, he is still behind Dindu and Legend, so running the medium tires just have not really given them any significant benefit here early on at Mount Panorama. Soft tires just seem to be so incredibly important here today. And that gap is really opening up between these two right now. I look at Moonrise, he is at the 64% in the tire life. For ESV Green, his tire life is at 68%. So Green is wearing his tires about 4% faster over a stint. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that will have some massive knock-on effects. The other thing I've noticed is that Green is burning up the tires on the rear. Moonrise is burning up his tires on the front. Having rear tire life issues is usually more problematic than front tire life. And here come our leaders into the pits now. So the question is going to be, Indiel Dindu, who was the first of all the drivers to pit the prior lap, where is he going to end up? He fell all the way to 9th after making a stop a little earlier. He has been fighting with Legend 54 for these positions. We have no doubt that Moonrise and Green will maintain their spot at the head of the field, but everything from third on back could still be up for grabs here. Alright, Dindu and Legend have already gotten by several drivers. Dindu's up to 4th. Where's Togue? Togue has just come out of the pit lane, just ahead. Is Dindu going to be fast enough to put any pressure on Togue going into turn 2 and 3? No, he's not close enough to get a draft. It's going to be Togue, Dindu, Legend, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all on top of each other here. And the gap between 1st and 2nd has significantly opened up in Moonrise's favor. Oh, big slide by Togue there. Still trying to get the tires at the temp, but that's brought Dindu up. Thing is, though, they're now in the mountain section. You can't really get alongside people here unless you want to run that risk of an accident. How aggressive is Dindu going to be? Is he going to try and make Togue make a mistake and slip by? Or is he just going to be content to stay in line behind? Well, he slaps the outside wall, still staying right there behind the Aston. Downhill. Right on board with Legend. He runs right behind this fight between Aston, who spins right in front! And they're both into each other! And they're gonna be 3 wide as they accelerate downhill! And it looks like Dindu's gonna be the one ahead! We see our leaders head down into the braking zone, but watch this fight for 3rd as it comes down into the braking zone at the bottom of the hill. Through the chicane, they're all nose to tail, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And Dindu most definitely has it. Right on board with Legend. See Dindu have a bit of a step out there, slides out track just in front of Togue. But Togue hit that inside wall, and there is nowhere for Dindu or Legend to go, and all 3 of them bled off a significant amount of speed in relation to each other. Freitas in 8th still has yet to make their first stop. They are trying to cut out pit stops. They seem to be the only driver who made their first stint on mediums today. So keep an eye on that as this race continues to develop. CJ has gotten by Crislid farther back there for 6th. Still nose to tail, 3rd, 4th, 5th. But Togue is not nearly as aggressive on Dindu. Dindu slaps the outside wall, so does Legend. That immediately brings Togue right under the rear wing of that Ferrari. At the top of the mountain. And now they start rushing downhill again. How aggressive does Legend want to push? Because if Togue hits the wall... Oh, well, there's your answer, as it's Legend who hits the wall, and now he bleeds off time. So for the moment, that fight comes to a close, it seems. Looks like right now, Dindu is the better of the three of them at this stage of the event. Bratters gets by Freitas. So yeah, running this first stint on the mediums has not brought any positive fortune to Freitas. Everyone else started on the softs. It's only been mediums for Freitas. Okay, so we see that Freitas has made his stop, will likely plummet to near the back of the grid. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Moonrise holding station over Green. But the big thing is, Green is faster on the straights, but Moonrise seems to be significantly better at tire management. They do not burn through their tires nearly as fast. And look at this here. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, everyone from 3rd to 7th all stacked on top of each other. We're on board with ZR Chrysalid here. He doesn't realize he's at the back of this big 5-car train, but that is the scenario right now. Dindu is trying to open up a gap and get away from the rest, but it's just not happening yet. And you can see when you're behind someone, you can really only see the car in front of you and maybe one car up from them. Visibility has been a significant issue all day today, not because of weather conditions, but just because of how narrow the track is. Kogan Legend got into it a little bit farther up the road there, so Dindu finally starting to peel himself away from NDL Togue. Remember, for Dindu's team, they need to try and get away just a bit here. Farther back in the field, for the VER team, Dr. Ice and VER Dwarf having a bit of a fight right here in the midfield for 10th and 11th at the moment. It's a pair of VER teams, but Dr. Ice is the only VER team that is not in the Chevy. He is in one of the Audis today. Reminder, one of the other VER teams, that is the one that Legend is on. They are right up there in the 5th position right now. Bit of a slide there by Dr. Ice as Dwarf tries to close in a bit there. And therein lies the crux of the issue of running at Bathurst. You need to have good straight line speed in order to make any overtakes, but that's not going to help you one bit if you have the greatest straight line speed, but you're so slow that you're not going to qualify anywhere near the front of these races. Dr. Ice slipping back into Dwarf's grasp, but Dwarf only gets there just as they leave the final overtaking zone, although Dr. Ice has made a mistake. The car rides the wall and Dwarf goes right by. So Dr. Ice seems to slide off circuit. Well, it's not like his tires are freezing or anything, so I'm not quite sure what his problem is, but it seems like Dr. Ice is struggling with some handling issues, as now he is slipping back into the grasp of Indiel Drewski here. Meanwhile, farther up the grid, this is the fight for 4th right now. Togue has it, Legend wants it. He's in the draft of the Aston. Boy, CJ closed in so aggressively there under braking. He's right there, ready to capitalize. Chrysalid's a much more distant 7, so it's very obvious that Chrysalid does not have the pace to fight with these drivers ahead unless they are all battling. If they're all compromising their lines, then Chrysalid's able to stay in the area. But otherwise, it is very clear that these three will just be able to outrun Chrysalid gradually over the course of the day today. Togue versus Legend as they accelerate uphill. Remember, these events are calculated by overall distance here. Distance from all three combined stints. And while Dindu is ahead of Togue right now, Togue was well ahead of Dindu at the end of stint 1. So keep that in mind. We need Dindu to, if Dindu wants to have a shot at the fight, he'll need to close in a bunch. Yes, we should get to see sunrise in this stint a little bit past halfway, I imagine, in the run. Oh, and that's Legend off! A big slide off circuit at the top of the hill, and he misses the following braking zone. And maintains his position, but I'm not sure if that is going to hold up post-race if that gets submitted as a penalty review. I'm not even sure if the game will consider that. Well, the game says it's not a cut. He's not been penalized. So Legend maintains his spot over CJ, but has lost significant ground to Togue here. Oh, that was a bold move. CJ tried to put his Acura where there's nowhere on track, and Legend goes off circuit now. Again. And now he will lose a position. And there goes another position. So now it's all of a sudden gone pear-shaped for the highest running of the VER teams early on here. Goes side by side, really aggressive into turn 1, but he'll muscle his way by. %50 tire wear for this vet. For the Audi he just overtook, Chrysalid is at 42%. For CJ, who's up here in 5th, 43. It was pretty obvious that with Legend having pitted a little earlier, like we saw, that's definitely having some negative effects on him right now. Meanwhile, at the head of the field is still Moonrise versus Green, but Moonrise is bleeding off time. Green is running him down, but Moonrise is only at 45% tire wear. Green, who's pitted at the same time, he is at 49%. So the tire wear is still in Moonrise's favor, but Moonrise has distance penalties. Green, right now, does not. So Togue, now comfortably in 4th. CJ, one of his title rivals, runs back here in 5th. Legend has recovered to 6th, gotten by Chrysalid, but still has a ways to go before he can catch. And then you have a big gap back till you get to this driver, NWR Bradders. This is the first repeat manufacturer in the field. The top 7 are all 7 different manufacturers right now. Bradders and the Chevy is the first repeat. Then you get NDL Ardno, was another one of those entries that just aren't really having much to talk about. Dindu is coming in the pits, and look at this glut of cars. I have not seen this yet. Look at this glut of cars near the back grid. This is Birchie all the way back to Rough Driving, all stacked on top of each other here. His drivers are now making their second stops of the day. So a lot of these drivers looking like they're setting up for a 7-stop race. Stop with 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in, 45 minutes in, an hour 15, an hour 30, and an hour 45. But if you can add another lap to each of those, that would give you potentially only a 6-stopper. How many people are going to be able to make that work, though? That is the question. Meanwhile, oh, wow. Who was that? Was that Habit? It looks like Habit may have pounded the wall there coming into the pits. No damage. Okay, so if everyone who's pitted didn't do, continues to lead on the strategy of everyone who pitted a little bit earlier. But again, if you're able to go about 1 lap longer than everyone else on each pit stop and you're just doing softs all the way through, potentially, it would be rough. Potentially, you could cut out an entire pit stop. Dindu is not worried about that, though. For drivers at the head of the field, I think that is a strategy. Just try to go 1 lap longer. Try to make your pit stops last about 18 minutes instead of just 15. And potentially make it just a 6 stop rather than 7. Oh, hello. Moonrise and Green are going to go 2 laps longer. So they went 1 lap longer earlier. Now it's going to be 2 laps. Okay, this is interesting. So they're not just carrying a small advantage. They're going to try and cumulatively add to the advantage as the run goes on. It's a bold strategy, Patton. Let's see how it plays out for them. Toad pits this lap. CJ pits this lap. So does Chrysalis. So does Bradders. What about Ardno? Yeah, Ardno's going to jump in. So Dindu should automatically cycle all the way back to 3rd without too much issue. But again, Dindu's saying is that he will likely have to make an entire extra pit stop later in the event. But if he's able to run a bunch of laps in nice clean air, it may not be any real big problem for him. Real quickly, let's look at our leaders' tire life right now. Moonrise is at 60% exactly on that right front. For ESV Green, on the rear tires, 65%. The numbers are just not looking good for Green. While Green is able to put together some incredible laps, the general advantage of the Dodge to minimize its top end lets it save tires so much better, and he can maintain lap time much better over a full tire set than what ESV Green can do. For those of you who remember, back in, I believe it was November or December, Bathurst first got added to the game, this group, P1R, did a single mini enduro, single 2-hour enduro here, and ESV Green walked off with that one. No one else was on his level, but that does not seem to be the case in today's event. And here they come, leaders into the pits. Reminder, Dindu pitted 2 laps earlier. It doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to really put any pressure on our top 2. But Moonrise and Green have both basically gone 23.5 minutes. Not 23, 33.5 minutes on tires. On 2 sets of tires. You cut that in half, it's about 16.5 minutes or so. Things get really interesting really fast here. Real quickly, let's look at HYR Freitas, who is on a unique strategy. They ran mediums on their very first stint of the day. This stint is on soft, so it'll likely be paying sooner rather than later. So Freitas will likely pit in about 2 to 3 more minutes, I imagine. Delive is making their stop. I believe RX, yeah, so everyone except Freitas seems to be committing to just doing all softs all the way through, potentially. Moonrise versus Green, that is the fight. And it looks like Moonrise has the advantage just because the car does not burn through its tires, because Dodges are not fast enough in a straight line to stress their tires like the other manufacturers in this game do. Legend still runs a little bit behind CJ on track. We still have this glut of cars from about 14th up to 10th right now, with Freitas being the one leading that pack. Robert Drewski, who's at the back of this little train of cars. We're going to go ahead and ride on board with Dr. Ice in the Audi for a lap. So you can get an idea of what it looks like for a full flying lap around the circuit here with Dr. Ice. We'll be back shortly here at Bathurst. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bathurst as Dr. Ice has closed up behind Freitas and Dwarf, but Dwarf has not been able to get by the Audi yet. Not the Audi, the Bentley yet. Reminder, Freitas is on a different strategy, trying to minimize pit stops over the course of the day today. Dr. Ice and Dwarf have gone back and forth fighting for positions in the middle of the field for a large chunk of the day. Now you see Dwarf in the Corvette is going to clear the Bentley under braking. Dr. Ice gets really close, right under the rear wing of that HYR entry. Big slide off by Freitas, and there goes Dr. Ice with no issue whatsoever. And Freitas aborts and comes into the pits finally, making their second stop of the day. Bit of a fight here for fifth between Legend and CJ. Big slide off line by Legend, and CJ just barely slips back by in front. So NDL drivers run third, fourth, and fifth all over again now. And you can see that the sky over the track is starting to lighten up, starting to change hue. So we'll likely see the track be bathed in daylight in about 20 to 25 minutes, maybe a little sooner, but I think it'll be about 20 to 25 minutes. These two continue to fight, elbows out here. Big slide out of the corner by Legend, but he's still right there in CJ's draft. But I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a big lunge. Not this time, at least. Trying to close in, not quite nose to tail here. He gets nose to tail under braking, but is not going to make the move this time. Backs up the corner a bit, just trying to have a nice, good exit. Comes onto the straight. CJ holding station over Legend. For now, though, it seems like CJ in the Acura, which has one of the best accelerations of all the cars in the field, it seems like CJ is able to make good use of all this. And we are going to be coming up on the third round of pit stops very shortly here. Nose to tail through 3 and 4 this time. But this time, both of them will keep it out of the wall. Real quickly, we're going to look at Didn't Do. Look at his tire life right now. He's at 45% in the rears. As opposed, Moonrise, your leader, 29%. A significant difference right now. Grizzled bleeding off time slowly and is about to fall into the grasp of NWR Bradders right now. So Bradders is getting really punchy right now in his Corvette as we are just about done with the nighttime running here. And this fight between CJ and Legend continues to go back and forth. CJ has it. Legend is right underneath. Does he go for a big dive under braking? No, he'll actually back out, back up the corner a bit to try and get a good run out. The final corner is a potential overtaking opportunity, but Legend dumps a tire into the dirt, killing his momentum. So it won't happen this time. That is a Toad who is just up the road a bit, but this duo was closing in on. NWR Shadow has fallen behind Dwarf and is just barely ahead of Dr. Ice right now. So while some Corvettes are moving up the grid, some of them seem to be slipping. We're anticipating we're going to see the likes of NDL Didn't Do pit at the end of this lap. For Moonrise and Green, it may be another 3 laps before they make a stop though. Togue has got to be so fortunate and thankful, or he's got to feel so thankful that he is solo, because CJ and Legend are absolutely beating the snot out of each other on track. And if either of these two were alone on circuit, they would have already caught Togue and blitzed by him. As it is, they're still slowly closing in on Togue right now. It would be so much worse if they weren't fighting for position between each other, as they're accelerating downhill here. Also, Crislid has been caught by NWR Bradders. So this is another Audi versus Chevy fight to keep an eye on here. There's one farther down between Shadow and Dr. Ice. And now here between Crislid and Bradders. So Didn't Do did not pit this lap. But Legend has. And here comes Bradders, dives to the inside of Crislid. Heavy under braking, he's gonna go deep, really deep, and he'll take the position. Bradders has Crislid tucked right behind his rear wing. Not a great entry into turn 1 by either of them, but power is gonna let Bradders open up the gap on Crislid. So Legend is pitted, Dwarf is pitted, so has Shadow, and Dr. Ice! Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Green is starting to close back in on P1R Moonrise all over again. But tire life is the big question. Almost 50% here for Green. So that would mean that Moonrise is likely running at about 47%. And Green, when his tires are burning up, is the rears that are burning up. It is hurting him on the parts of the track that he is the strongest at, the straightaways. But the gap has closed right down between the two of them. Habit and Rough Driving making their third stops of the day as well. We're anticipating that NDL Didn't Do will be pitting this lap. Mind you, Didn't Do Togue and CJ all on top of each other right now. All of them pitting on slightly different laps, mind you. Dindu has been pitting earlier than the two behind. Is this the time? Does he pit now like we anticipate? He's at 67% wear, surely. Yes, he does. He's coming in now. And Togue will join him. And so does CJ. So all three NDL Championship contending teams duck into the pits at the same time. Bratters and Chrysalid pit at the same time. Does Ardno join them in the BMW M8? Nope, sorry, not M8. This is Naston. I apologize. And yes, he'll join. So everyone from 3rd down to 8th pits at the same time. So now I have to wonder, for Legend, who pitted a lap earlier than those guys, how many of them is he going to be able to overtake? He's already by Ardno, Chrysalid, and Bratters. CJ, Togue, and Dindu have already come out of pit lane. Legend by CJ. He sees Togue ahead. He sees Dindu ahead. Dindu just barely is holding station over Togue on the run up to turn number 2 here. And sunlight is just about here, so it came about 10 minutes earlier than I anticipated. Bit of a slide by the Ferrari. But it looks like for now, Dindu should be able to hold station over NDL Togue. One of your lead duo, Green, has gotten right behind Moonrise. Nope, that is not. That is a lapped car, isn't it? Yeah, that is rough driving that Green's been caught behind. Now, he'll be able to clear the Porsche without too much issue, but that's not exactly going to help Green. Excuse me, I apologize for that. My goodness. But the gap between the leaders have closed down once again. But it's usually this, the last lap of their run, that the tires go bad for Green very quickly, and he hemorrhages a bunch of time typically on this lap right before pitting. Is that what we're going to see this time as well? We'll use the point of interest camera to try and gauge what the gap is between our top two. One, 1,002. That's like 2.25 seconds, if that. But again, this is normally the point where Moonrise just opens the gap a little bit. He's not even in the 60% range yet of tire wear. Green is in the 65% range in tire wear. But Green's there. Green is right behind Moonrise. Can he keep with the Dodge? This is the best run he has had on a set of tires. He is a lot closer to the Dodge than he has been the last few times. Both of them are sliding something wild right now. The gap is not opening up like we thought it would. Downhill. The gap has opened, but not by much. So Green much closer to Moonrise this time by. And they'll be pitting at the end of this lap, we imagine. Oh, and that's big impact by Dindu. Hard into the outside wall. Him and Togue were fighting for a position going side by side in the mountain. You do not want to go side by side in the mountain under any circumstances. But Dindu has now been wrecked and falls all the way to 8th. And now, with that in mind, that will likely put Togue and that team in the Aston Martin in an unassailable position in the overall championship fight. Excuse me. Moonrise and Green in pits right now. We know they're going to hold station over these drivers, but Togue is now well ahead of Legend. Legend and CJ still going back and forth between each other, but with Dindu having been shunted down to 8th, that coupled with the fact that Togue outran his title rivals in Stint 1, well, Toad's teammate, which was Avocado, I believe, outrunning his teammates in Stint 1. Everything is turning the right way for our points leader. They are setting themselves up to potentially lock up the championship before the final race of the season. All right. Well, it seems like we're in a bit of a calming moment here. We're going to go ahead and knock out one of the Twitch-mandated ad breaks. We'll be back in a little bit here at Bathurst, as we are just a little bit before halfway here at Mount Panorama in Australia. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back here to Mount Panorama in Australia around the Bathurst circuit here. Legend 54611 is in the highest performing of the VER team entries thus far. Running in fourth right now, trying to keep the Acura of NDL CJ behind and hoping that somehow he could run down the gap between himself and the Aston Martin of NDL Togue in third. But when it comes to top drivers, there are really only two guys fighting for the win of this stint. It's the same guys who are fighting for the win in the victory in Stint 1, and they're doing it again here in Stint 2. It is Moonrise versus ESV Green. Also, for those of you still curious about HYR Freitas' strategy, Freitas still has yet to make their third stop of the day. They're trying to minimize pit stops over the course of the race. Still not sure how that's going to turn out, but that has been their strategy today. But they have been gradually plummeting as the race has gone on, so it's not looking great for them, to say the least. There is Dr. Ice here, who is tucked behind Freitas. Dr. Ice has just been gradually hemorrhaging ground as the event gone on. Didn't really start super high in the order, but he's just not been able to maintain ground, and has just been slowly slipping backwards through the grid. He has made a few overtakes, but just has not had the overall pace in the Audi, at least compared to the likes of ZR Chrysalid, who has been running top 7, both in Stint 1 and on track to do the same here in Stint 2 as well. Easy overtake by Dr. Ice on Freitas, as Freitas is just on an absolutely awful set of tires here. And this little fight continues here between CJ and Legends. Acura versus Corvette. We saw the tail end of an incident between these two and the driver of NDL didn't do here at the top of the mountain earlier. Oh! Both of them had an absolutely awful time there at the top of the mountain there. Because both of them had a bad time, neither of them really get to swing their battle in their favor. Of note, Rough Driving for now is still on the lead lap, but as this is going, it looks like he will go a lap down in about another 2 to 3 laps here, and then our leaders will have to start dealing with a glut of lap traffic. So that could have some knock-on effects on how the fight for the lead goes. Green, in a car that has more power, normally would be in a position to take advantage of that power. Cars with more power will generally be better fighting through lap traffic, but here that's not really going to be the case because there's just no good places to overtake after you get out of turn 4 until basically you're down on the run through the chase. If you catch lap traffic in the mountain section, you're just in trouble. So Legend, we are anticipating, will be one of, if not the first driver to pit. If not the end of this lap, it will likely be at the end of the next lap. And then that will start the next round of pit stops all over again. So while Legend has track position, he is going to have to deal with a bit of a tire disadvantage to CJ. Deleve and RX here in the lower middle part of the field having a bit of a spat for 15th and 16th place. Freitas is way up the grid from them, so I don't think they're going to catch Freitas anytime soon. Deleve is in the only other Dodge in the field. RX is in one of the many Corvettes that are attending today's run. Oh, guys. Of course, after I turn away. Well, it's not done yet, actually. They're still at it. CJ pulled alongside Legend under braking, and here comes Legend. He'll pit now. That'll be his 4th stop of the day. I imagine everyone else trying to go just a little bit longer. And look at this. ESV green. The momentum is starting to swing again. You look at the tire wear right now. Again, big thing to consider. Now we are in the daytime. Your tire life is going to fall off at a different rate. 37%, almost 38% for green right now. For Moonrise, 35%. And now Moonrise is wearing a lot more evenly front to rear. 35 and 35 for Moonrise. All the way around, green is at 39 at the rears. So Moonrise is now starting to burn up his rear tires a little bit more in the daytime. Green's tire wear, though, has not really shifted in the change from day to night. So the momentum is shifted between these two. In the nighttime, Moonrise had the advantage over Green. But now, the advantage is going in Green's favor. And again, for those of you who remember about 10 months ago or so, the first event I covered for P1R SEC was just a simple 2-hour run at Bathurst, and NWR Berkeley has dropped out. We'll try to reach out to them. But in that very first run way back then, we saw a similar scenario. Green had a car that was way better on tires and performance in the daytime. In the night, he lost a lot of ground, but in the daytime, the car came to life and just no one could keep up. We may be looking at a similar thing developing here now. We're going to try and reach out to NWR Berkeley if at all possible. So Togue pits this lap. So does CJ. So does Bradders. I imagine Crislin and Dindu will pit as well. But our focus is on this battle here. We will try to keep a look on Legend on the ticker. See if Legend gains any positions on the drivers he's fighting against. Because remember, Legend is pitting basically 1 lap earlier than everyone around him. So here's the thing. Moonrise in the Dodge Viper is in a car that cannot fight back. The Dodge Viper has no way to keep the Mustang behind once they get onto the straightaways. As long as Green doesn't go off circuit, hit a wall, spin himself out. If Green stays this close to Moonrise when they get onto the chase, he'll have him beat by the time they get to the chicane. The Mustang is so ridiculously fast in a straight compared to the Dodge. So the battle for a lead, we should see it swap one more time here. Green should be able to pull alongside and outbrake Moonrise at the bottom of the hill. This should be the change for the lead. If not here, maybe he waits until the run uphill. We've seen him do that a few times. He goes to the outside. Goes deep under braking. They both go deep. The Dodge goes really deep. He slides and powers back in front of Green. Just for the moment. But now they're about to come uphill. And this is where Green prefers to make his moves. He prefers to have a simple move around the outside, going down the run to turn 2, and he'll clear the Dodge before they even get to turn 2. That has happened every time before they've been in this scenario. We anticipate will happen this time as well. Uphill once again. Moonrise defending the outside. Now he defends the inside. Green's gonna go outside. The move's coming a little later than normal. Okay, so while Moonrise is in a car... Oh, and Green just shuts him! Green shuts him off, and he makes contact again! Moonrise keeps Green behind. You know, I've been saying this car can't fight back, but Moonrise is doing everything he can to keep Green behind him, and they're getting a little bit argy-bargy, putting the bumpers to each other now. Look at the tire life between these two. 57 for Green. 53 for Moonrise. So the tire wear is still in Moonrise's favor, but it's not nearly as much. Do they pit this time, or do they stay out another circuit? Moonrise had a good time putting the power down, coming onto the chase. Trying to break the draft, does not want to give Green any significant draft. Do they pit this time or not? Green seems to be hemorrhaging time now. I think he's pushed his tires a little far. Thing is, Moonrise isn't doing much better. Here comes the move. Green to the outside. Moonrise on the inside. Moonrise goes really deep under braking and powers out, holds station over Green. But again, just like last time, Green's going to be right there. He should be able to make a move on round the Dodge, going up the straight here. This should be a very simple cut and dry move, but we said that last lap and it didn't happen. Green seems to be struggling a bit, putting the power down on those burnt out tires. But once he's got the power down, he can run anything down, but it's getting harder and harder for him to put the power down. He's not even able to get alongside this time. They only stay nose to tail at the end of the straight. But the same thing is now true for Moonrise. Moonrise is not just destroying Green in the twisties, in the mountain section anymore. Their gap seems to be stabilizing now. They seem to be pretty even with each other, and they have all chosen to go one lap farther. I think that these two are going to make it just a 6-stop race, while everyone else on track is on track for what should be a 7-stop race with a handful of exceptions farther down, like Fritas. But I think these two are on a 6-stop strategy. Everyone else is on a 7-stop, we believe. Now the gap is opening up in Moonrise's favor. Just as they come onto the chase again. Do they pit this time? Moonrise, he's at 63.6% tire wear. For Green, he is at 69% tire wear. So the momentum in this fight has very decisively gone in Green's favor. On the last fuel and tire run, Green cut the gap down near the end. On this one, at several points, it was nose to tail. Oh, and Moonrise hit the tire barrier coming in. Is that going to damage the car? Because if that has damaged the car and they have to repair the car in the pits, no signs of damage. But if they have to repair Moonrise's car in the pits, that will take up time and potentially shut them behind Green. It looks like Moonrise is going to come out ahead of Green once more, though. Also, that is P1R Habit, who will get back on the lead lap. Okay, so Green leads. Moonrise leads. Green has to try and run him down again. In the fight for third, Legend in the Corvette is starting to run down Togue in the Aston. But catching him is one thing. Here at Bathurst, passing is another, especially if two cars are relatively even when it comes to their power application. Dindu has recovered from his accident earlier, but only to 7th right now. Still has to try and run down Bradders and CJ before he even gets to Legend. That's just, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's looking very difficult for Dindu. VER Dwarf runs in 10th right now. VER Dr. Ice has slipped back to 13th. Freitas, who is continuing to run on their own unique strategy, runs 14th right now. They'll likely be paying either at the end of this lap or next lap. RX and Delieve are making their 4th stop of the day. So again, Freitas is the only driver who ran the first stint of the race on mediums. We think they're trying to cut out an entire pit stop overall, but they've just not had any kind of pace to do anything with it, it seems. This is the battle for a lead. Moonrise versus Green. Moonrise has led more laps, but Green, without a doubt, has been a faster driver. But Moonrise is making that Dodge Viper do things that it cannot normally do. We're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back shortly here at Mount Panorama Bathurst. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mount Panorama. While we were away, CJ seems to have gotten himself into some trouble at the top of the mountain and has slipped down to 8th on track. So Chrysalid goes back to 7th. Dindu now up into 6th position, and he's not too far behind NWR Bathurst. So Dindu, for the second time today, is on the comeback trail. Also, Legend continues to stalk NDL Togue farther up the grid, but no actual moves have been made for this position yet. And of course, the real interesting one to watch, Green versus Moonrise, especially because Moonrise is about to catch traffic in the mountain section, the worst part of the circuit to catch traffic. This might be all it takes for Green to get back into the lead. Maybe. Moonrise clears traffic now. This is P1R Habit, I believe. So Green will have to dispose of this traffic as quickly and efficiently as possible. Gets pulls over, was not even going to remotely try. Oh, it's Mustang, that's it. So it's some Mustang on Mustang action there. Mustang behind tries to hold up the non-Mustang leader. So the second place Mustang closes in. A little bit of manufacturer loyalty I see going on there. But it's worked. Green has cut the gap between himself and Moonrise down even more. At the rate it is going, Green should be able to make an overtake on Moonrise next lap, likely on the run up to turn 2. Right on board CJ at the back of this little group of 4 cars. But I think this might be a little bit more worthwhile watching. There's 3rd and 4th going by, but here comes this fight for 5th through 8th. Legend's gonna pit farther up the grid. Dindu still has not been able to get by Bradders, putting the pressure on that Corvette. Bradders has been trucking his way forward through the grid, but Dindu wants to put a stop to it. Dindu believes that he should be up there trying to fight with Togue for 3rd position. And once again, Legends pits a lap earlier than everyone else he is around. Side by side behind between CJ and Chrysalid. One of you two have to back out in this corner. Who's it gonna be? Oh, and they all wreck! And that's a massive, that's multiple cars involved. Dindu's involved. Bradders is involved. They're both gonna be able to get away, but this shuts both of them out of the top 5. Chrysalid now goes up into 5th. Him and CJ both took a little bit of contact in that. And now here comes Chrysalid looking at the inside. Not close enough to make it stick. Not that time. And this is great news for Togue, because Togue is now completely in no man's land. Does not have to worry about anything. And for the lead, here comes potentially the move for the lead and maybe the win of this stint. Moonrise leads. Green is in 2nd. Moonrise has been doing stuff with that Dodge that it should not be able to do. The Dodge has been impossible to make defensive moves with, but Moonrise has been doing it anyway. Here we go to the final corner. Moonrise just barely keeps it ahead of Green. Togue pits out of 3rd position. Well clear of everyone behind. Green did not have a good run coming out of turn 1. He's got the draft, he's got a straight line speed advantage, but will he be able to get alongside Moonrise before the end of the straight? No, not this time. As everyone from 3rd on down makes their next round of stops. Oh, and that's Moonrise who went wide! Moonrise missed the braking zone. Green going around the outside! He goes deep, he completes it around the outside! Moonrise puts the bumper to Green! They're still side by side! And now Green powers by with the sheer power in the Mustang! Moonrise trying to fight back, but I think this might be race over. They'll likely pit next lap. Nose to tail. Now as they start heading downhill. Oh, Green didn't have a great run there, but there's nowhere for Moonrise to get alongside. You can have as bad of a run as you want downhill. But for the most part, somebody behind cannot get by you in the mountain section at Bathurst usually. Now, downhill. Green has the power. Moonrise does have some draft that he can try and use to stay in touch. But it does seem like now that it is daytime on a warmer track, Moonrise is dealing with more rear tire fall off than he wants to. Green is not really dealing with much difference when it comes to his tire fall off. So the momentum is very much gone in Green's favor. It's not a lot, but it is enough to put him back in front. Under braking, a little bit of contact, a little bit of a push, a little bit of a shove. Green holding station for now, though. Moonrise looks inside. Does the trap back up the corner, get a good run out. They both have a relatively simple run out of turn 1. Now the run up to turn 2, you can visibly see the Mustang is so much faster. Even with the draft, you can see that Green is pulling away. This is what I mean. The Dodge has no recourse, no defense in a straight line fight. The only reason Moonrise has been able to keep Green behind as long as he has just been sheerly down to the fact that Green has been burning up his tires so much that Green has been gradually losing his straight line speed advantage. Big twitch from Green just ahead, but he's not really losing any ground, not yet at least. In fact, it now seems like he is pulling on Moonrise just a bit. Oh, big slide by the Mustang! Is that a move? No, you don't want to go side by side through here! And Moonrise wisely backs out the last possible moment. You can't go side by side downhill. You will cause an accident.